heard a car. He's not coming. Dad.
These are for you.
Mom, what's he doing?
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Larson. I can certainly see where Melissa gets her good looks. Come on, honey. Go on, honey. Yes.
Take a moment and make a memory from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, Daddy, talk to me today. And when I'm older, we'll still find things to say.
Is that French?
You know, it's true, my daddy.
What are you gonna do when you grow up? A drummer, of course, in a band.
If you want your children to talk to you when they're older, talk to them when they're younger. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
We got a lot to talk about.
Remember when they first started showing those spots on TV? We were just kids.
You know, the thing that I like most about those spots is that they remind me of how things could be.
I think most families want to feel close like that. We just don't always know how to make it happen. For the next few minutes, we're going to go behind the scenes for a closer look at some principles that can help.
Wow. So, what does all this have to do with building stronger families?
Well, like the movies, things aren't always as simple as they appear. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
No. You know, I hadn't really thought of it like that before. The successful families I know really have to work at communicating with each other.
And they have to make time to be together. And they have a strong foundation of shared values.
Yeah, and none of those things come easy, but, you know, maybe those are the very answers that we're all looking for.
Are you listening? The sweetest part of life is finding your way home. Loving those who need you, having a place where you know you belong. 'Cause when the day is done and your friends are gone and the world steps away, the only thing that matters is who you've loved today. Who have you loved today? Who have you loved today?
I think most of us agree communication is important.
Yeah, but it's not easy. It takes time, effort, and patience.
What is that? Nothing.
I said no before. The answer is still no.
All you do is lecture. Why can't you listen for once?
I'm not lecturing. Listen, you are not... Dan, I'm getting so tired of this. I mean, it's like I'm talking to you. You're not even listening to me.
So we've talked and we have talked and we have talked. We've accomplished nothing. Sue, I love you, but I don't understand what is going on. And I don't think that you do either.
Well, at least I'm trying to. Stan?
Good night.
Fine. Sleep on the couch. See if I care.
So, if you want to do better, where do you start?
Well, let's really go behind the scenes and talk to the experts.
I think it's important that families talk, because if there's no communication, there are a lot of little problems become big problems, misunderstandings become big misunderstandings. It's important that everyone gets a chance to talk about how they feel.
Communication is an acknowledgement of our connectedness, whether we're talking to each other, whether we're touching each other, whether we're just watching each other and noticing what's going on. That's what acknowledges the fact that we're connected, and when we stop doing those things, the connectedness starts to disappear.
We tend sometimes to think we read other people's minds, and sometimes we think we know what our children are saying. Children sometimes think they know how mom and dad think about them. It's words that kind of cut through that.
Without communication, both verbally and that nonverbal communication that says, I'm here, I'm with you, I care, I'm listening, that sort of thing, people become mysteries to us. We think we know them, but we really don't.
But the heart is the most important thing in communication. Not necessarily the words.
Do you want to go there? That's what we'll do.
No, we're not. No. Marriage isn't supposed to be like this.
Tyler, we agreed you'd spend the lunch hour copying the makeup assignment on the
There's another
blackboard.
guy doing his
Come
makeup.
with me.
Love lasts when you put your marriage first. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And so that's what they're asking for in question 2. Which segment is a reflection of A, B, okay?
I just don't get it, okay?
Well, you're just not listening. Look, it's really simple. It's easy.
All I ever do is listen to you. Why can't you ever listen to me?
There's no more likely way to invite somebody not to listen to you than to demand it. But to invite it is to give yourself to them before you ask that they give themselves to you.
Sometimes when dads listen, they listen for accuracy rather than for understanding.
In order for me to be a good listener, depends less on the skill that I would bring to it and more upon my sincerity to really want to know what my child's world is like.
Listen to what they have to say and then feed back to them. You know, this is what I heard. Is this what you meant? To me, it's 2 things. It tells them, I'm really listening to you, and secondly, I really want to understand.
So, you feel that because math is hard for you, that you'd be letting me down?
I just want you to be proud of me.
Son, I am proud of you.
Communication comes when people feel like they really are heard and that what they are saying counts and is important. I think particularly with teenagers, that's a big problem. We have a lot to tell them, but we oftentimes don't take time to listen to what it is that they say or that they're feeling or they're experiencing it and trying to understand it from their perspective.
I thought we were going to the store.
Well, we are.
The turnoff's back there.
Well, I thought I'd take the long way.
I'll do better in math.
This isn't about math.
It isn't?
Nope.
Just tell me what it is, okay?
But what is?
Whatever it is you're mad at.
Should I be mad?
I don't know. Are you?
I just want to know how you're doing, that's all.
You don't want to say anything?
No? How about you?
Not me. Are you gonna die?
Not for a long time.
Oh, I mean, good. I'd miss you.
You know, I'd miss you too.
Really?
Understanding grows one conversation at a time. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
So I think as parents, we need to make that conscious effort to do things with our children, anything that allows for communication to take place. And it doesn't have to be sitting always necessarily isolated and face-to-face with each other. There are some things that I've heard parents do, playing basketball, doing dishes together, are excellent times for that talking, that communication to take place.
I set up time, individual time for each of my children. It's been their time, that they know there's a set time that we can sit and talk. And I generally will talk in their room, in their space where they feel comfortable.
The most effective communication happens in families when there's a setting of openness. And by that openness, I mean there aren't set answers or set expectations.
If we're going to be good listeners, we have to be prepared to hear things we don't want to hear. We have to be prepared to hear our children try out a new idea or to say that they don't agree with us or they don't like something that we like. Otherwise, they're going to quickly learn that I can't really say how I'm thinking or how I'm feeling.
You know, being a mom has taught me something else about communication. Sometimes when you think you're being perfectly clear, well, it isn't clear at all.
Stay there! Parker! How many times have I told you to stay away from the corner? Look at me. I've told you time and time again. Never walk to the corner.
Mommy, what's a corner?
I couldn't believe it. I had never even considered that he might not know what the word corner means.
One of the biggest faults in communication is assuming that because the other person loves me or should love me, they should know what I want and what I need. And therefore, I don't need to tell them.
Common mistakes include things like, you never, or well, you always. First of all, nobody ever always or nevers. And so it's an accusation when I imply that you do that. And that usually follows with another common mistake, which is to label somebody. You're just lazy. You always put it off. You're such a con artist. To label us as that's the way we are, boy, it puts up a pretty big wall that I'm going to have to climb over to communicate with you effectively.
Getting angry, I think, is almost always an act of self-defense of some sort. You're defending your territory somewhere. Either I've got the right to be an authority here because I'm the parent and how dare you, or just you've offended me somehow and I have a right to defend myself against that. I think you have to give that up. Somebody's got to be the grown-up here. And I think all relationships, not just parenting relationships, go better when we give up the boundaries and say, okay, I'm in here with you and we're just doing this and we'll do whatever it takes.
People are skilled at different levels, but ultimately it's not the skill that's important. It's your honesty in giving yourself to the other person rather than your intellect or your skills that makes the most difference.
Communication is fundamental. It isn't easy. It takes consistent work and patience and even sacrifice. Jesus Christ set the perfect example for us in this as well as every other part of our lives. He taught the importance of love and kindness, patience and forgiveness. We can learn to do the same things. We can follow his example.
And living those principles is one of the best things we can do for our families.
It's so easy to get caught up in day-to-day grind, you know, and in the process, you end up missing some of the greatest opportunities in life. I started a new job. We had a new house. We were expecting a new baby. There was lots of responsibility, lots of pressure. Sometimes you get on this treadmill of success, and you just can't seem to get off.
Daddy, what you writing in that book?
Oh, this is where I write down all the important people I need to talk to.
Is my name in that book?
Are you giving the least to those who matter most? Or are you sharing your best with those who really aren't that close? Well, it's time to turn around and find out where your greatest joys are found.
If we don't spend time with people, we won't know them. I may daydream that I love my child and want to go fishing with them, or enjoy my daughter, I would like to pitch the softball to her. And that's great, but if I don't do that, I won't strengthen the relationship.
Children spell love T-I-M-E. So if we tell them, that's great, but we need to communicate that love and caring through spending time.
The first test of when you're experiencing quality time with your family is when you're not worried about the time.
And now a few words about raising children.
Run, jump, climb, walk, laugh and cry. Throw, fish, play catch, slip and slide. Listen, swim, eat, grin, cook and cheer. Giggle, wait, talk straight, woo, be there.
Love love isn't just something you say, it's something you do. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Those unexpected moments together, whether they're 5 minutes or 15 minutes, can be very valuable. That time home from work while you're preparing dinner, or a few minutes in the morning if you happen to get ready early and have 5 minutes to talk before you go, or an opportunity to go for a walk around the block.
I think it's important to do work around the house together. Sometimes we think of chores, and you know, if we're doing chores, we don't think it's quality time, but you can talk and do things together. That's quality time. There's communication there. Setting up projects that the whole family has to do together.
I'm also not much of a believer in quality time versus quantity time. I think you just have to be together in order to have the quality come out.
We make time our enemy by saying there's not enough time, but we usually find time to do the things that we really want to do. So if we really want to have time as a family, we'll find the time. It may not be a lot of time at once, a lot of hours together, but you take the few minutes that you can.
You don't have to move a mountain. You don't have to calm the storm you see. The little things you do that you think are small and few are the things that mean the most to me. So just keep giving whatever you're giving, 'cause if you're giving with everything you got, keep on giving whatever you're giving, 'cause even when you're giving just a little, it helps a lot.
If you're doing just a little, you're helping a lot. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It helps a lot.
Yeah, single parents have a particularly difficult time because there's no one there to help them out. You know, they're doing all of it by themselves. My experience tells me this, that the children of single parents know that there's not a whole lot of time. They know that this is the only parent that will do the dishes, clean the house, fix, and so they've told me that the best thing they've done is enlist their children in that help. And so you talk while you do dishes, you talk while you clean the house, you talk while you cook, so that you do the activities as much as possible together. Those who have tried have told me of wonderful successes with a 3 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 7 minutes there. And they've also said this, that 7 minutes is enough.
Special blessings come to parents who are doing it on their own. And I suspect they come to well-intentioned parents, whether they're religious or not. I'm not sure you have to ask for these kinds of blessings. I think raising children is an important enough task that those blessings are going to come to you. And you need to have some trust in that. And do what you can. And, you know, you give it your best. But that's all you can do. And when you've given it your best, you trust that help will come where it needs to come.
Mealtime traditionally has been seen as the time when all the members of the family come together. It is one of the most important moments in family time.
Increasingly, families don't spend very many meals together. But for meals to be positive, they again need to be a time where we're focusing on building relationships more than we're focusing on good nutrition or keeping elbows off the table.
So did you tell them?
If we can use that meal time to be a time to talk about what was good during the day, anything fun or interesting that happened, for parents to volunteer some things about their day rather than to just ask children, what did you do today?
If we don't have the chance to sit down and say, hello, I remember you, you know, we're related, we're still connected here, that's a fragile thing. It evaporates easily. And affirming it once a day at meal times. Otherwise, there isn't time.
Hey, going fishing? Go all the time. Doesn't that cut into the time you spend with your family?
No.
Why not?
Because they come with me.
The best time for your family is your time. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
One of the simple things for parents to do to plan some good time with their children is to sit down with a piece of paper and ask the child to list some things that they would like to do together.
We have found that we actually have to schedule it. And that doesn't feel spontaneous and wonderful, but if we don't, sometimes we don't have it.
And you schedule the time with your child, not so that the child can feel wonderfully blessed by your presence. That's a bad message. You schedule the time with your child so the child knows that you are very fortunate to spend time with them.
I'm going to be going on vacation these days right here. Okay.
Family councils are good ways to come together to ask the kids what they want to do.
And it may be as simple as saying, you know, this month we're planning a family activity for the third Saturday. You know, let's make sure we keep that day open because we're going to do that.
That builds in a child a sense of worth that I not only receive from my parents, but I also contribute to this family.
Given how busy we all are, I think families have to take time to have time to talk to each other. Make a time when just talking and being together is what we're doing.
Katie, how can you live in a mess like this? Katie, did you hear me? How can you live in this mess?
It's my room.
Well, it's my house. Every single thing in this house is something I bought for you.
You don't use it.
Like, you don't even take care of it. You know, I'm tired of this.
It's normal to have conflict. You can't raise children without conflict. You take a child that's totally dependent, by the time that child will leave your home, they'll be an independent adult. That transformation just breeds conflict. The challenging thing is to look at the conflict and recognize that my responsibility here is not to extinguish it, because that would be really to destroy those relationships. It's to figure out a way to how to resolve the conflict.
Often parents of teenagers have situations where the child plays what I call the brain drain game. And parents play into that, unfortunately.
Why won't you let me have it? It's not something that you absolutely need. No, you can't have it. Everything you get is not something you absolutely need. That's the difference. I'm out making the money. That's it. We won't discuss this anymore. So if I got a job, could I get it? No.
Don't play that game with them. When they start doing that, then say to them, when you're ready to talk and your voice is as soft as mine, I'll be glad to talk to you. And then just walk away. Most teenagers have the capacity to continue to argue, and they have a lot more energy than parents do, and parents will lose out.
In our culture, we see too often teenagers as a special breed of something, a phase that they're going through. And I think sometimes the very way in which we see them gets in the way.
If children seem to change in teenage years and go from receptive, polite, kind beings to aloof, resentful, closed, non-communicative folks, the worst thing in the world the parents could do is decide, now what do we do? Now from 13 to 19, this is what we're stuck with.
Steve, can I talk to you for a moment?
Yeah, Mom, what's up?
What are you guys watching in there?
Just a video.
The key to effective discipline is to have talked in advance about what the rules and what the consequences will be, especially at a time when we're not upset and we're both feeling good. Then when the time comes that we have to enforce the rule, we've had a prior understanding, and the child doesn't view it as something we're doing because we're mad or upset or older, and somehow we get a charge out of making them unhappy.
The number one thing is to choose your battles, and you can't have everything have equal importance. So choose those things that are the most important, and maybe ignore or minimize those other things.
Sit back and let you get away with this.
If expectations are clear, and if they know that even when they've done something that you don't approve of, that you don't want them to do, that you're still there, that you're going to get through this, then the whole conversation gets easier.
But we can't control them. We can't make them be who or what we want them to be.
If the parents said to them,
Don't want to do it?
look, I'm sick and tired of trying to communicate to you and having you sit there and say nothing. I don't know of a child in the world that would say, oh, I apologize, Mother. Thank you for pointing that out to me. No, the response is going to be either more silence or an intensification of refusal to communicate.
When you look into my eyes, are you listening? Can you read between the lines and see inside me?
Growing up is awful. It's hard. And I think it's getting harder. I'm looking at my children and saying, they're facing things I never dreamed of, I never had to deal with, and it's tough. It hurts. They need a lot of encouragement. They need to be able to find strength with you. And if you offer them that, they'll take it.
The teens that I've worked with have been willing to talk with their parents and tell them things, not because their parents possess some special ability, but because, as they said, I can go and talk to them. I can tell them things.
They may be ready to talk at midnight, or they may be willing to talk for a few minutes on their way out the door. And I think the task for parents is to take advantage of those opportunities when they are willing to talk to you, instead of having to still have control and have it on the parents' time schedule.
If I open up the door, will you be ready? I promise I'll be there for sure. Let's just keep trying.
When you're talking with your teenager, they need a parent. They need someone who has some good, kind, wise, I've had a little experience kind of counsel with them.
Yeah, but it's a lot tougher than I thought it would.
I find that they are as willing to be taught as any other age group, and in some ways maybe more willing to be taught.
Katie? I'm sorry. You know, I came home and I was in the worst mood. Everything went rotten today, and I guess I took it out on you. I'm sorry.
If a parent is able to sincerely say, I'm sorry, that doesn't in any way lessen their authority or their power in the home. It actually invites the child to see them in a different light.
When a parent can say to a child, I'm sorry, I've disappointed you, I was wrong, I was angry, forgive me. I think that's almost or perhaps stronger than I love you.
You can find my heart if you're listening.
Children will learn values in a variety of settings, school, the neighborhood, but home is going to be the foundation of that.
It's important for parents to teach values to their children because children need to learn from parents who acknowledge their imperfections. Because when a child sees that an imperfect parent can commit to and honor and do right by values, it suggests to them somebody still growing, learning, who's insecure, maybe not very confident, that it can be done.
If parents are honest with their children, children learn honesty. If parents listen and care about their children, then children learn to listen and care.
Talking is important, but we teach children what we already are. Children learn to value what we actually value, not what we tell them to value, not what we say we value, but what we actually value.
You've got to be a good example. You have to live the values that you say you believe in.
One of the most ironic things about gangs is that a considerable percentage of young people who get involved in gangs get involved because it gives a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, and a sense of protection.
They're looking for some place where they can feel that they're important. They're looking for some place to go where they feel somebody cares about them.
You need to have a relationship with your child that is more open and more important to them than a gang. And then what you'll do is you will battle with the negative influences out in the world by supplying them with something much more positive in their home. And they may not take an interest in the negativity out there. They won't need it because their needs are being taken care of in their home first.
I never meant for this to happen. Things just kind of got out of control. Daddy?
Our job as parents is not to guarantee our kids don't make mistakes or break rules. Our job as parents is to make sure that our hearts are right with our children, so that we teach them the rules, we teach them the right things, and then if they break them, if our hearts are still right with them, we're someone they can come to talk about that, to fix it.
I think a lot of parents are quick, when the child makes a wrong decision, they're quick to punish rather than to discipline. And discipline helps a child to learn. Punishment helps a parent who's been hurt to feel better.
They may have made a real lousy decision, but you're going to help them dig out of it. They'll do the work, but you'll be right there with them. I think that's the first thing they need to hear. Because they've already probably, in these serious instances, given up on themselves. They're just hoping that you haven't.
And I think that's the hardest part. It's so easy to be angry when they've broken the rules.
I know I haven't always said everything I should, but there is one thing I want you to know, that I'll always love you in a way that no one else could ever do, and nothing can change the way I feel for you, 'cause I really love you.
I think it's essential to be sharing your thoughts, your opinions, your values with your children all of the time.
There's a saying that says if you want responsible children, you give them responsibility. Well, part of the responsibility is they have to make the choice. And sometimes it's a fine line between saying, you do what I say, or you choose to do what is right.
I think there are probably several things that a parent could do. I know in our family what we've tried to do is to set specific times, which are times for teaching. We have family home evening, for example, which is a time where we say, once a week, we know this period of time is going to be a teaching time of some sort.
if a family would regularly meet together just to be with the family, say this is a night where we're not with friends, we're not out doing something else, let's plan our schedules. That's one of those times when all that communication and listening to each other and understanding what it's like to live with each other in the same home and not be too busy to talk about those things. That's when a lot of that can be facilitated.
Family home evening helps us focus on those things that are most important.
It pulls us together.
I feel that family home evening brings me closer to my brothers and sisters, so I tend to ask them for advice rather than my friends.
I think that all of the principles that we need for raising our children and for having good families can be based on religious principles. It's important, I believe, to teach our children very early these principles.
Family prayers not only teaches love for God, but that confirms that He is there.
I've noticed something about young people who have a deep commitment to something other than themselves. It means that they believe they were created for a purpose. It means they have a sense that they're connected to another person in the universe. And it means they believe that they have a mission.
Because our first introduction into the world is an introduction into the family, that becomes the foundation from which I think we see the rest of everything in our lives.
Parenting is the most expensive in time, money, and effort, the most expensive activity in the world. It will do more to take your energy away than anything. Why? Because it's the most rewarding, and it's the most important.
Sometimes people feel like this is it. This is a lost cause, or it's not worth trying anymore. You can make it better. People do change. Skills can be learned. Relationships can heal. And viewing it as that process that we're in instead of an end result that we're trying to get at, I think is really helpful.
Perhaps you've made many mistakes. Perhaps for years you've done the wrong thing. But the very next breath you take, the very next word you say, the very next step can be in a different direction than the one you've been taking.
Susan? Don't give up on each other. Don't give up on your children. Don't give up on yourselves.
Families and children are lost when we throw them away. And if you're not willing to throw your children away or throw your family away, it can be fixed.
The ideas we've shared in this program can help. They're not 5-second formulas for change, but they work.
There's one more important idea to remember, too. These principles that can help us have closer, happier families aren't new.
No, they've been around a long time. They come from Jesus Christ.
He taught us how we should care for each other. He set an example. We can apply those same principles: kindness, persuasion, gentleness, forgiveness.
If you would like to know more about how the teachings of Jesus Christ can strengthen your family, we encourage you to talk with a representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or call this toll-free number for more information.
Families are the greatest source of happiness in life. And that's what we're all really looking for, isn't it?
You know, the most important work we'll ever do will be right in our own homes. I mean, there may be challenges to deal with.
Right, and problems to solve. But in spite of all that, there are answers.